Hi, I'm Captain Steve, and today I'm going to do a full performance evaluation and sea trial on the Explorer 62, starting with the operational features. Come on aboard and let's get right into it. There's a docking station to the port hand side with the IPS joystick, bow thruster control, and activation control. Just underneath at the deck, there's a flip-up panel with our water fill and diesel fill, also our waste pump out. If you're into a Medmore situation, then you've got a warping winch with a foot control right alongside, cleat just behind, leading straight out to the back. This, of course, repeated to the opposite side. Stairs to both port and starboard give us access to the swim platform. Naturally, it's hydraulically actuated, so we can lower it down, launch, say, a PWC. It's got an 800-pound lift capacity. There's also a tender garage just ahead, and you know how you've got so many tender garages with a hatch that is so slow that you have to time it with a calendar? Not so with Explorer. This one opens up in short order, and we can house a 10-foot tender in there. It's got an overhead clearance with an average height of 44 inches. Under the lower riser to the starboard side stairs are two 50-amp shore power connections. We're running on one right now that is covering all of the electrical on the boat, including all of the air conditioning. But if it drops down to the point where you need 60-degree air conditioning going on throughout the boat and really taxing the system, then you fire up the other shore power connectivity that is dedicated to the air conditioning. Crew space and mechanical access is under the stairs to the port hand side. These are tight quarters as crew spaces generally are. There's 21 inches of walk space between the bulkhead and this area right here. Double wide sink with two faucets. Up above, there's a berth that flips down into position. There's an empty space right here that can be accommodated with a washer dryer. Moving forward, we have the crew head. And on the far bulkhead, there's access to the engine room. Naturally, this is a watertight door. Let's go take a look. Let's go over some of the more pertinent features of this engine compartment. First of all, obviously, we've got a tender garage. That's going to limit our space a bit, but I'm telling you, I have been in boats with a tender garage bigger than this that provide less space than we've got right here now. So I'm surprised at how easy it is to get around this engine compartment. At the forward bulkhead, we've got our main electrical distribution panels, our Dometic cooling system, 96,000 BTUs, and of course, it's built to yacht quality, so we have redundant systems just above. Water maker is below, 30 gallons an hour. 22.5 kW generator right alongside. Looking aft, of course, the main attraction, dual D8 IPS 800 engines. We already talked about the electrical that was located underneath the riser of the stairs. Well, here's your electric cord reel for the first 50-amp connection. The second connection is right alongside. We've got an inverter just underneath. And here we have the hydraulics for the swim platform. Back at the entrance, we've got our Seakeeper 9 gyro stabilizer and our battery system right alongside. Speaking of space, there's 33 inches between the two engines. Notice that the outboard side of this port side engine, we've got easy access to, but the opposite side, that one's up against the bulkhead. So to get to the outboard side of that engine, we go through a hatch located underneath the sink in the crew quarters. Side deck space to both sides, 25 inches. Rail height at this section tops out at 28 inches. And then as we go forward, take a look at this. I mean, it increases to 47 inches. Midship sideboarding gates are located to port and starboard. Now we come to the working end of the bow where rail height tops out at 31 inches. Notice that we've got a split rail design fully forward, easy access underneath two hatches to the windlasses and anchors that are to both sides. A switch right here activates the saltwater washdown that is in the tubes, so as the chain comes up, they get washed down. Just behind, there's space for a commercial life raft, and rather than just let the space go up above, cushion made it into another little gathering area, 46 inches across. I also noticed that there are speakers in this compartment as well, making this into another entertainment venue. The lower helm is all the way forward and starboard side mounted on the main deck. Raised panel houses two 12-inch displays. Just below that is a 16-inch display. And there's also a 10-inch display for the Volvo Penta readouts. Engine controls over to the right-hand side, bow thruster, IPS joystick, and trim controls. This whole sub-panel is treated with Alcantara suede upholstery. Notice a small recessed area for your cell phone. I'd like to see connectivity there. The steering wheel, vertically mounted, and notice it's got the Explorer elephant logo with aquamarine eyes. Those are actual gemstones. Let's move back to these displays. Of course, we can put anything we want on any of these displays, charting, camera. This one is set up so that it's got controls for our electrical features, our tank management, lighting throughout the boat, engine RPM, Humphrey stabilizers. The list just goes on and on. And of course, we could do this with any of the screens. A panel over to the left-hand side gives us a control for our Seakeeper 9 gyro stabilizer, our Humphrey zero-speed stabilizer fins. This boat also has automatic trim control, so all three of these systems work in conjunction with one another to completely stabilize this boat. To me, the most impressive feature, however, is the visibility. Just look at this single-piece wraparound windshield, panoramic view, almost 360 degrees. It's just absolutely outstanding. Now, what's missing from this equation? Have you figured it out yet? Helm seat. Well, there are several options. We can go with a fixed captain seat, like a STID seat, something along those lines. We can go with a director's chair that can be taken in and out of position. One owner chose to delete this watertight door and then have a bench seat over here that would swing into position and then swing out of the way. That just goes to highlight the semi-customizable nature of Explorer yachts. Another option would be a simple leaning post, or we could do what this owner did, a decision that I happen to agree with, going with nothing, and it leaves it wide open. And why do I approve of that? Because this is really a secondary control station. There's another control station up on the flying bridge. Let's take a look at that. The flybridge helm, I think, is going to be our primary helm. Starts with a compass offset to the side of the steering wheel. Wheel is mounted vertically and to a fixed base. IPS joystick over to the right-hand side, digital throttle and shift, bow thruster control, and our trim controls. Notice that we've got a display panel that's laying flat. We can make that a lot easier to see simply by elevating it. 16-inch display in the center of this panel, multifunction, so we can go from the charting, radar, and of course switching for all of the electronics and electrical systems throughout the boat. Right alongside, another panel gives us our Volvo Penta display, our engine activation, and a Fusion stereo.
Now let's get her on the water and see how she performs. I found some interesting handling characteristics with the Explorer 62. Conditions today are roughly 15 to 20 from offshore. I've got 2 to 3 foot seas with 1 to 2 second period between the seas, so certainly less than ideal conditions to contend with, but still nothing that this boat can't handle by any stretch of the imagination. There were just a few times when I took a little spray over the bow, and that's only when I was running at full speed. She just presents a remarkably comfortable ride. As for turning characteristics, if I put her hard over into a turn at, say, 17 knots or so, it took 30 seconds to come around 180 degrees. Coming around 360 degrees, it will do that in roughly 5 boat lengths. But to be clear, that has more to do with the IPS drives when you're at full speed. IPS pods simply don't go the full swing until you slow down. This is by design. It's to keep you from making any radical maneuvers while at speed. And that's something you don't want to do with a yacht like this anyway. But that said, if you slow down, you can tighten up that turning radius. I certainly found 5 to 6 boat lengths at speed to be really good for a boat this size. She'll also stay fairly level in the turn and pretty darn stable, because not only have we got the stabilization fins working for us, we've also got the Seakeeper 9 gyro adding to the stabilization. So that worked out pretty well. Now, as far as numbers go, the team at Explorer did their testing on this yacht in flat, calm water, and in those conditions, they got a top speed of 23 knots. We are in considerably worse conditions than that, and I got a top speed of 19.8 knots. Now, that's not bad at all. Even when it's blowing and you've got some snotty conditions out, you're getting some good speed on this yacht. There's no best cruise per se. It's IPS powered, and as typical with IPS, if you slow the speed down, the range increases fairly linearly, and that seems to be what's going on here. With that said, if you're running at 11 knots, I'm going to get zero point 0.6 nautical miles per gallon with a range of almost 400 miles. If I was going to go the distance, then I would probably drop it down to 7.3 knots, and that gives me a range of roughly 1,000 nautical miles. That puts her well into the class of a very nice distance cruiser. As for handling characteristics, I'm finding that if I put the 62 into a head seat, there's no pounding at all. She's going to throw a lot of water out to the sides, and wind being what it is, we'll pick up some of that and blow it over the bow. But for the most part, it's a really dry ride. If I put her into a beam seat, no rolling whatsoever. The stabilization is spot on this boat, and it's really comfortable. Most surprising is how she tracks straight and true. She'll slide down one wave, take the other one on the bow, throw it out to the side, and then we come up on top of the next one. No sign of stuffing the bow whatsoever, of course, but more to the point, tracking straight and true. As for working the trim tabs, haven't needed them at all. I never bothered to touch them, so I'm not even sure why they're on this boat. That's how well she handles. In fact, the whole team here was having so much fun on this boat that we didn't feel like bringing it back. So we went for a little joyride, then went out to dinner, hung out. We didn't head back to the dock till well after 10 p.m., and boy, does she look even more pretty at night. And as easy as she is to drive when underway, even when the channel starts closing in, she's even easier to maneuver around the dock. So from an owner-operator standpoint, this boat is an absolute home run.
Some of the ingredients in an owner-operator's boat need to be ease of maintenance, ease of handling characteristics, and excellent handling characteristics out in the water, and all those are met and more on the Explorer 62. She's also an outstanding boat to be entertaining on, but that's another video. Be sure to look for it. For now, this is my full operational inspection and performance evaluation of the Explorer 62. I'm Captain Steve, and I will see you on the water.